Hi, all. Welcome to our YouTube channel series, Salesforce Know How, where we talk all things Salesforce. So, in today's video, I will be talking about Salesforce's niche offering for the financial services industry. And the topics I will be generally covering is first, of course, what is financial services and what are some challenges that this industry faces, especially technical challenges. What are some solutions? And of course, my main focus point is going to be on the financial services cloud, which is Salesforce offering for this particular industry and the verticals within it. And also, I will be sort of giving a highlight or a basic overview of what makes, Salesforce Financial Services Cloud a better offering over like your traditional Salesforce clouds, such as like sales or service, etc. So let's begin. Of course, since it's financial services, just a quick um, touch base on what exactly is financial services. So you guys would know it basically refers to like all the broad range of services, which is including the finance industry, or basically it's got to do anything with money. And it's for towards individuals, it could be businesses and governments. And these services basically are they help manage like money or they offer investment opportunities, facilitate financial transactions, etc. So basically, we're talking about like all your banks, your investment firms, credit unions, insurance companies, etc. They all fall under this bracket. So some of the types of financial services which we all would know is, let's say, your banks, insurance services, investment companies, capital funds, tax and accounting, financial like advisories or consultants as well, payment and settlement, financial technology or fintech, etc. There are a few more, but I've just listed down some of the most commonly uh, familiar financial services, just to give you guys a picture of who is our potential audience when it comes to this. So now for financial services, again, now that we know our target audience, just putting some sort of light on some of the challenges faced. Now, again, these challenges are purely technical. So I'm not talking about like their market challenges or, the industry challenges as such, but it's the industry challenges when it comes to technology. So some of the common challenges being faced are like, for example, they have like a lot of systems, like their data is stored not just in one central system mostly. Many of these investment firms or banks, etc., they have their data in multiple systems. So they would have like a CRM, they would have a marketing tool separately. They would have sometimes, because some of these banks are established like way long back. So um, with the movement of technology, sometimes when they established the banks, they were being in a legacy system and they didn't have time to upgrade. So because of this, data would be in silos, and of course, they lack a unified customer view. So if they really want to know what's happening in their company across various verticals, etc., it becomes sort of like a difficult or it becomes a challenge for them. The second one is, while the first one, which I talked about, is not just specific to the financial services industry, it's pretty much common for like just any company who's been established for some time or who's working with legacy or multiple systems. It's a common challenge that we see for any company. However, the second one is for financial services. So as we know, since it's got to do with money, it's got a lot of regulatory compliance any part of the world you go. So whether it's a bank or an investments or an insurance firm, they would have a lot of compliance measures that they would have to take. So there'll be like very frequent audits, etc. So like for example, let's say they have to keep the standards of like GDPR or FINRA or CCPA, etc. So for that, it becomes very critical for them to ensure that they are following like all the rules and regulations, their data sharing model, all the things that they have access to and don't have access to, the way they are handling their records, permissions, consent, etc. All of these will be audited frequently, so it becomes a challenge on to keep the compliance in check. So when you don't have a proper system designed around it, then that becomes a challenge. The third one is pretty much, I would say, piggybacking on the first point, which is like when they have a legacy system, and if a particular financial services company wants to upgrade, then as we all would know, data migration to a whole new system, because again, data is all over the place, there are a lot of processes, so we'll have to rebuild that, etc., becomes a challenge. The fourth one is lack of personalization. So, because of very generic content, and I think we've all experienced at some point, maybe let's say like 10 years back, some of the banks, like the information that comes our way, or like let's say the marketing material, or the let's say the calls or texts are like very generic, so it just, there's no personalization that is there. And remember that in today's world, it's a very competitive, so you're not very pressed for one or two choices, you have like, you're spoiled for choice. So where the personalization element is not in the picture, the chances like people will look for some place where they get like a really good personalized experience. So if you don't have that and doesn't resonate with your clients, then yeah, there's a chance you might lose them. Some couple of other challenges are, of course, like poor customer experience, which is pretty much same as what I mentioned earlier. Or it sort of talks about like when you have, let's say you have, of course, think of a bank, you have your physical banks, and then you have a customer service or contact centers. You would, of course, have like a website and your mobile app, etc. But if the experience is not seamless across them, then it leads to a very poor customer experience. And it is one of the challenges that some of these financial institutions do face today. The sixth one is client onboarding complexity. So now for this, it's basically in financial services. There's a lot of it's a pretty lengthy procedure to have a client onboarded. So think about whether you want to purchase like market shares for the first time, or maybe you are maybe creating like an investment or portfolio, or maybe you're just taking like insurance. So anybody who has even created a bank account would know that the whole process, like you would first have to fill out a form, then they'll ask you to submit a lot of documents, and then like if it's like an insurance or like life insurance or so, sometimes you have to do a medical. So the whole onboarding process is pretty complex, and that is also lengthy because there's sometimes third parties involved. Somebody might do like a background check, and the bank has to submit your documents to another, let's say that's a central bank or some other regulatory board, etc. So because it's a lengthy process, it's pretty much a challenge for a lot of these companies to have it, to track it efficiently, to ensure it's done the shortest amount of time, etc. Point number seven, it links back to point 5 and 4, which is client retention and relationship management. So like I mentioned, we are spoiled for choice. So nobody, it's no hard and fast rule. You have to stick to like one bank or one insurance. And we would all know, we would have accounts in multiple banks and take like multiple insurance policies, etc. So the client retention is always a challenge for financial institutions because there's so much of competition. There are companies out there who are giving like really good work experience or customer experience, that the retention and relationship management is key if they want to hold on to their businesses. And the last is, of course, scalability, customization limitations. So now with the technology that's is basically advancing, of course there is and like new features that are coming into picture. So think about like 20 years back, you did not have let's say online banking, or you didn't have like UPIs. So as we go forward, there's going to be a lot of technological advancements as well. And if you're, for example, you have a legacy system, and if it's not able to cope up with that technology, then the scalability is always an issue. And then, of course, some of these systems you want to bring in a particular process, but then the customization, there's like limitations. So then it becomes a roadblock. So what happens, you'll have a legacy system, you'll purchase another system, and then you'll have to ensure that the data flows between those two. And then it circles back to point number one, which is when your data ends up being in multiple different systems and therefore in silos. There are, of course, more the challenges over here, but why I have sort of walked you guys through this is so that these are some of the common challenges faced, and this is what we're basically trying to solution for using Salesforce. So like these are the common technical challenges. Now, potential solutions for this, of course, now from a face Salesforce perspective, is one, financial services cloud, which is Salesforce cloud for finance. And the second one is, of course, depending on the requirements, we can also solution using, let's say, sales, SFDC, so sales and service, where we use like the existing custom objects and flows, and then we do, sorry, standard objects and flows, and we other functionalities we've built out custom. And then we can basically meet the requirements. However, now my main focus for the next, let's say 40 or 30 minutes is going to be, of course, Salesforce Financial Services Cloud. So since Salesforce has an offering, I'll be walking you guys through as to why is this an option, or like why, or what are the key features that basically keeps it apart from like just using your standard SFDC and then building on it.